So earlier this week, the Democratic National Committee said that they would not offer Fox News an opportunity to moderate one of their primary debates, in part because of a derogatory story that ran in The New Yorker. The New Yorker piece claimed that in 2016, right before the election, the editor of FoxNews.com killed a story about Stormy Daniels and then candidate Trump in order to protect the new president, then the candidate. But today, the former Fox executive wrote his own piece in response, and it was titled, "I Stopped the Stormy Daniels Story at Fox News. Here's Why." He writes, 2 weeks before the 2016 presidential election, as the editorial head of Fox News Online, I reviewed a draft news story that said porn actress Stormy Daniels had confirmed having an affair with Donald Trump a decade earlier. The only problem was Stormy hadn't said that. Daniels and her associates were playing a bizarre cat-and-mouse game with Fox News and other outlets, trying to get their story out without fingerprints and ultimately without enough proof to publish. We and others practiced solid journalism, he writes. Now that's being spun in an effort to prove the opposite. Howard Kurtz is host of MediaBizz and our resident evaluator of these kinds of questions. You know, this piece is very interesting that was written by Ken LaCourte. Howard, how do you balance it out? You know, which side seems to be telling the true story here?
Oh, it's more clear than ever now, Martha, in light of this piece, that the New Yorker's suggestion, based on unnamed sources who believe that the Stormy Daniels story was killed by the Fox website to protect Donald Trump or because of Rupert Murdoch, is just way off base. What Ken LaCourte, who was running the website at the time, says, he had a 9-paragraph story written by the Entertainment Reporter. It was based on 2 anonymous quotes, no corroboration, and no mention of hush money and no mention of a contract. And it wasn't even close to being able to publish. And by the way, as he says in this piece, Slate and other organizations were chasing the same allegations, also couldn't corroborate them, also didn't punish them. When you don't have the goods, you don't publish.
Yeah, I think that's one of the, very interesting points here is that other publications, including Good Morning America, were also being sort of fed this story, as it's written here, by Stormy Daniels and her folks. And it's very interesting because they all say we were trying to pursue the story, but then the trail went cold. And the supposition is that there was, that perhaps she was looking to be paid some of this money and that something else was transacted on the outside with regard to her and her situation. And she suddenly didn't want to go any further in any corroboration of the story, right?
Yeah, because she ended up getting $130,000 to keep quiet. But the thing here, the kicker here is the Wall Street Journal did run a story about Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump just days before the election. That's a newspaper that happens to be owned by Rupert Murdoch.
That's right.
And by the way, Ken LaCourte says in this piece that the New Yorker author, Jane Mayer, he got in contact with her after being called by a fact checker. She said he'd call him back. She never did, so he never had a chance to make the case that he was practicing, as he says.
Yeah, he had talked to her about another story and collaborated with her and was cooperating with her on another story. And then he was surprised that when it came to this piece, he tried to reach out to her, but he never got the call returned. And then when he saw the piece, he was somewhat surprised. Just remind us of the history here with this reporter who has been around a long time, Jane Mayer, also had some similar issues with Kavanaugh stories, correct?
Yeah, Jane Mayer was the co-author of one of the stories, of one of the sets of allegations in the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. It's not Christine Blasey Ford. It was one of the people whose tale was largely discredited in the aftermath. Now, I'm not casting aspersions on her as a reporter, but she is a reporter who has specialized in going after President and Vice President Trump, conservative billionaires, and that sort of thing. New Yorker, a very liberal magazine that regularly mocks Donald Trump. And by the way, Martha, I believe that DNC Chairman Tom Perez is just using this New Yorker piece as a kind of a cover story to justify what he wanted to do anyway, which is not provide Fox with any debates. Fox didn't get any Democratic debates in 2016.
He used that story specifically, so it'd be interesting to hear, if there's any response from him in terms of if the story is not as it appears and not as it seems, whether or not there's any reevaluation there. We certainly hope there will be, and we hold the door open because we would very much like to do this debate. Any final thought, Howard, on that debate decision?
Well, the bulk of the story is about the opinion hosts at Fox and how they're supportive of Donald Trump and friendly with Donald Trump, and that's fine. But as everyone knows, the debate moderators would be you, Bret Baier, and Chris Wallace, all of whom did a terrific job in 2016. Lots of other journalists, don't take my word for it, are saying the DNC made a bad decision because it's depriving its Democratic candidates of access to the huge Fox audience. So I think this was a blown call. I hope the DNC reconsiders, but to base it on a New Yorker piece that was very negative toward Fox, I don't think so.
All right. Howard, interesting. Thank you very much. Great to have you here tonight.